Good day, one and all. I'm back after a brief break to celebrate my birthday. Thank you to everyone that wished me happy birthday over the last week, by the way. I appreciate it so much. I had an incredible time. I did have a bit of a brutal hangover, and it has taken me a while to recover, but plenty of time in bed and chugging many a bottle of water, and I'm finally feeling pretty damn good, I must say. So today I'm going to be discussing the stat speed, and why it's arguably the single most important stat in Infinite Magicraid. So what does speed actually do? Well, speed determines the order in which your heroes take their turns. The hero with the highest speed value goes first, and then the next highest goes second, and so on so on. Simple, or at least it's usually simple anyway, as there are heroes like Space and Popper that can boost or lower turn meter, which also have an effect on the turn order. And you can get heroes like Santa or Ronai that can further increase or decrease a unit's speed in battle. But for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to be getting too complicated with it. We'll mostly just be looking at speed itself and not turn meter boost and all of those other shenanigans. So is taking your turn first before the enemy really that powerful? Well, I would say yes. In PvP, the team that goes first is very often the team that wins, especially in cleave lineups that specifically focus on killing the enemy team before they get a chance to do anything. If you were to look at the best PvPers in the game, they often have core units like Popper with well over 3000 speed for this reason. Another reason speed is important, especially in PvP, is speed tuning. And that is when you purposely set speed values so that your units can perform their actions in a certain order. So just to give you an example, my Henge is at 2200 speed and my Agatha is just below that at 2199 or thereabouts. This is so when I'm in PvP, my Henge can use a skill 4 to strip the enemy of all buffs, and then immediately after, Agatha can nuke with her skill 4 and kill the entire enemy team before they have a chance to do anything about it. Now let's say that wasn't perfectly speed tuned. Let's say my Henge had 2200 speed and my Agatha had 1900. My Henge might strip the enemy team, and then the enemy Nordak, Calf, any unit really, might take their turn before my Agatha has a chance to nuke and set up a shield or even kill me and just mess it all up. By tuning the speed so there's barely a gap in between, I can guarantee that 1-2 combo goes off, I strip them, Agatha nukes, the enemy dies, I win. Now those are just examples from PvP, so what about PvE? Well, here it can also be incredibly important for your units to take their turn before the enemy, or you might find you just instantly die. If your Nordak, for example, isn't fast enough to go first and set up invulnerability, and the enemy goes first, then they might just kill everyone. To put it bluntly, you'd be fucked. However, if your units are faster than the enemy, they can get in first, kill the enemy, or set up buffs like Nordak's shield, and everything's alright. I know one popular example of speed being important for this in PvE is in the campaign. I believe Macken needs 1600 or 1700 speed to ensure he can go first, kill the enemies, and make sure he isn't killed first. So, that's all well and good, but that's not all that speed does, and speed's other feature is arguably its most important, as speed not only determines the order in which everyone moves, but it also affects the pace of turn meter generation, which is basically how fast the bar fills for you to get your turn. So this means that a fast hero can actually get more turns over time than their opponent if their speed is significantly higher. So let me give you an example. A unit with 3000 speed should get 2 turns in the same time as a unit with 1500 speed, as their speed is twice as high. And that's just so long as there's no other factors in play like turn meter buffs or boosts, etc, etc. And this is part of why Santa is such a powerful unit, because he can buff your team's speed while also lowering the enemy team's speed and freeze them. And this means your team can get a lot more turns than the enemy. In fact, it's even possible to permanently lock the enemy team out of taking a turn by doing this, as Santa will be so fast and the enemy will be so slow he can just keep freezing them over and over. So, since now we know that more speeds equals more turns, this also means that speed will increase the overall damage of your DPS. It may not make the damage numbers go up, but it does mean they're getting more attacks in total, and more attacks is more damage. This works in a similar way for cycling through cooldowns faster. For example, let's say you're doing Green Tower and your Nordak needs to get a shield up for your team to survive the boss's attack, but at the moment it's on cooldown, you can't use it. A slow Nordak might not be able to get their turn in time, and that might give the enemy boss time enough to get their turn in, nuke everyone, kill you, and boom, you've lost. But a fast Nordak might find they can get their shield up and keep cycling their cooldowns fast enough to keep them up for the entire fight, meaning the boss has very few windows of opportunity to ever do damage to you. And so it's all of these factors together, the additional turns, the turn order, the extra damage, the faster cooldowns, the tuning, that come together to, in my opinion, make speed the single best stat in the game. So, with that being the case, let's briefly talk about gear, since this is where you're mostly going to be getting your speed from. Many support heroes actually only really care about speed and no other stat, especially when it comes to PvP. Heroes like Popper, Space, and Ascindo might like little bits of other stats, but speed is by far the most important. And because of that, they're actually fine just using regular, basic speed gear. It's incredibly easy to farm from Rum, especially during the triple equipment event, and the easier it is to farm, the easier it is to upgrade, the more chance you have of getting high speed substats and really fast gear. In fact, most people will recommend farming Rum heavily all throughout the game, simply just because of how strong speed is. And this is also why people recommend a speed artifact in slot 3 for almost every hero, and why when you start using your mythic skills for the first time, you should only really focus on boots and speed artifacts before any other pieces. And just to elaborate on the reason behind that, it's because when you mythic an item and upgrade it from plus 16 to plus 20, the main thing that happens is that the item's base stat gets a massive bonus. But regular equipment, weapons, the chest piece, the ring, they have really bad base stats. Flat attack, flat defense, flat HP, these aren't great. You're not going to see a lot of value from increasing them. But the return you get from speed is amazing. The difference between plus 16 and plus 20 on boots or a speed artifact is around an additional 80 speed, which is absolutely massive and is almost always going to be better than just a little bit of extra attack, defense or HP. And that's about it. There's a lot more complex things we can discuss when it comes to speed and turn meter, turn order, etc. But I don't want to get too deep into it for now. As always, I hope this has been helpful for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video and I hope you've had a wonderful day. Good night guys, and dog bless.